Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic, the all-open question show here on the John Campea YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today. Not going to lie to you. It's a special day for me around here today. This would mean nothing to anybody else in the world, but to me, being the 5-year-old child that I am, this is a particularly exciting day. I got notified on Twitter earlier today, initially from a friend of mine over at Fandango. His name's Eric Davis, a longtime film journalist, great guy, solid dude in this field. One of the OGs, really, in this whole field of online digital movie thing. Anyway, he's in Austin, Texas, at South by Southwest. And they were premiering this documentary called The Director and the Jedi. It's like a 2-hour documentary, and it's going to be on the Star Wars The Last Jedi Blu-ray. It's a bonus feature on the Star Wars The Last Jedi Blu-ray. Anyway, he tweeted out, he said, he's basically saying me and a couple other people are at the beginning of the movie. Like, there's a clip of us at the beginning of the movie. And sure enough, on the IMDb page for it, there is a clip, and it's like 5 seconds. I'm on it for like 5 seconds at most. It's 5 seconds. And it's just talking about basically the reaction to Rian Johnson being hired as the director for Star Wars The Last Jedi. And that's it. It's like 5 seconds of me on camera, blah, 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 blah. And then it cuts away to other people. No big deal. Nobody with an ounce of maturity would be all that excited about it. But this is me, and this is Star Wars, and I am on a Star Wars Blu-ray. And I'm just freaking out about it. I actually just tried calling my mom. I swear to God, out of all the cool things that have happened, like in my career, and this has happened, I've never had something happen that's made me want to instantly pick up my phone and call my mom. Now, my mom is, of course, the person who introduced me to Star Wars. And the first thing, of course, after I messaged Anne, who was like, okay, that's nice, honey. If you're 5 seconds clip on this. No, she was excited for me. Was I wanted to call my mom, and I couldn't get a hold of my mom. I can't reach her. She must be getting her hair done or something. But anyway, so I'm in a particularly good mood because I'm a child, and finding out I'm on 5 seconds of a Star Wars Blu-ray has just made my month. So I'm in I just found this all out like an hour ago. So I'm in a particularly good mood. So I thought, hey, I'll just carry this good mood over into the open mic stuff here today, which I'm really excited about. I love doing open mic. I just do. I love the quick back and forth with you guys. It's a lot of fun. So without any further ado, let's get things going with the first question today. And the first one today comes to us from Digoto, who writes, my anticipation for A Quiet Place and Ready Player One just went up after the really positive reviews. Even the John Cena comedy Blockers is getting good reviews. You know what's funny, though? Okay, so what he's referring to is this morning on the John Campea show, and let me see if I can pull something up here. This morning on the John Campea show, let's see, Ready Player One, Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so earlier today on the John Campea show, we did a story on the fact that both Ready Player One and A Quiet Place did their world premieres at the South by Southwest Film Festival. And the response to them has both been overwhelming, like really, really positive, particularly A Quiet Place. And, you know, everybody's just saying it's intense, it's scary, blah, blah, but also Ready Player One, a lot of people saying it's a visual masterpiece, it's blah, 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 it's Spielberg at his best, a return of Spielberg to the blockbuster, blah, blah. So just, you know, really positive stuff, and that's great to hear. But this John Cena comedy, Blockers, I've been giggling about this movie for a while because I thought all the little teasers and everything have looked very clever. And for those of you who don't know anything about Blockers, it's basically this group of parents who know each other, and their kids are all growing up, and their kids have been friends since childhood. The kids are growing up, and now it's their high school graduation, or their high school prom, whatever. And the parents find out that their teenagers have all like made a pact together to have sex on the night of their prom. And it's about these parents trying to cock block them. Hence, I think the original title was Blockers, but they just changed it to Blockers just to be safe. And I've always thought it looked very clever and very funny. So that apparently is getting some pretty decent response as well, some pretty good reviews. So I'm looking forward to that too. But yeah, everything is looking good for both A Quiet Place, Ready Player. I'm not expecting top 10 movies of the year out of these things, but at least I'm feeling now like I'm feeling pretty confident that they're at least good. And you guys know I've been super stoked about Ready Player One. I've been getting more and more excited for A Quiet Place. And Blockers is definitely on my radar. I know my wife is going crazy. She can't wait to see Blockers. All right, let's move on. Thanks a lot for writing in, Digoto. Next one comes us from Dakota Barber, who writes, hope your day is going good. John, Brolin saw 30 minutes of Infinity War and said it was amazing. This makes me happy. Getting more excited for this movie. Yeah, and actually, I'm going to talk about this more on the John Campea show tomorrow. But, everybody knows Deadpool's been going in for some reshoots, which were always planned. These rumors started that the reshoots are in response to a bad test screening with an audience. I have heard that that's not true, that those reports are not true. Josh Brolin basically has gone online and insinuated, it's like, no, like our movie makes comedy and parody of other big movies, and we needed to go and do some reshoots. What that's telling me is that they're going in, they come up with some pretty good gags, probably to reference Black Panther and probably to reference Avengers Infinity War, and they've gone back to do some reshooting up in Vancouver. So that's probably the work of it. But at the same time, I never get all that excited about somebody who's in a movie going, oh, I just saw this movie that they are in. Oh, and it's awesome. It's wonderful. It's great. I never get too excited about that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd rather hear them say that than go, meh. I mean, obviously, but this is literally people who are paid to be in this movie. And this movie doing well directly benefits them. So I don't tend to get too excited about the stars of a movie saying, this movie's amazing. Well, what else are they going to say? Of course they're going to say that. I'm not saying Josh Brolin's a liar, not at all. But any actor who says that about a movie they are starring in, I take that with a grain of salt. So I'm not going to get too worked up about it. But I'm obviously already very excited for Infinity War. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this thing. I mean, just, yes, the excitement level around the web is just going off the hook for it. All right. Curtis Lopez writes, favorite novel? It was probably one of the Lord of the Rings. Like, if you just want to count the Lord of the Rings trilogy books just as one book, that or The Hobbit. Aside from those, it's the James Clavell Shogun, which is, whenever the question comes up to me, what novel or what book that hasn't been turned into a movie yet would you want to see turned into a movie? And I always go to James Clavell's Shogun. I think it was written in the 70s or 60s or something like that. Anyway, it was turned into a short miniseries for television, like back in the early 80s, I think it was. And it wasn't bad, but it's an incredible story. It's got everything you want with, feudal Japan and the samurai and all this kind of stuff. It's great. And it's called Shogun. That is probably my favorite novel. All right. Micah T writes, do you think Thor would fit as a member of the Guardians? If Drax dies in Infinity War, I'd love to see Thor replace him. Also wanted to say I love the show, man, and look forward to it every day. Well, thank you so much, Micah T. I don't really see it. Look, for a couple of reasons. Number one, first of all, would Thor fit into the Guardians? Sure. I mean, I guess any MCU character could fit into the Guardians. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if Venom can fit in with the Guardians, anybody can fit in with the Guardians. And certainly Thor is one of those guys who would absolutely fit into the Guardians if he wanted to. But I just don't see that happening. It's not a match that makes sense to me. First of all, if Thor was going to hang around and be a part of any team on an ongoing regular basis, it would be the Avengers. Secondly, he is king. He's the king of the Asgardians. If any Asgardians survive Infinity War, and I don't know that they do. I don't know if like Thanos kills all of Asgard at the beginning as they're all on that ship, or if some of them still get back to Earth. Thor is a king on Earth. He has a people to rule. So I just don't see them doing something like that, about like having Thor go off. A Thor who is a main character, who has, led his own trilogy of films. I don't see why they would then take that character and just make him a part of Guardians of the Galaxy. that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I just can't see that happening. Not to mention, like, Thor could take out the entire Guardians of the Galaxy by himself. So on that level, it doesn't seem like a good fit for me. So I don't see it, but I'm sure a lot of other people could. I am looking forward to his scenes with the Guardians in Infinity War. I think those could be really great. And that's, one of the highlights of the trailer is, who the hell are you guys? And the Guardians are standing there. I mean, that's a great moment. So I'm looking forward to seeing him with them. I just don't think he becomes a part of the team per se. All right, now watch. That's exactly what happens. Okay, Curtis Lopez writes, how does it feel to be featured in the Jedi and Director documentary on The Last Jedi Blu-ray? Well, thank you so much for asking, Curtis. It feels pretty damn good. I'm going to tell you that right now. It feels pretty damn good. You know what the funny thing is? There are several Marvel films that I like more than The Last Jedi. You guys know I like The Last Jedi very much, but you also know I have some issues with it. So, like, for instance, I like Avengers more than I like The Last Jedi. But if you had told me that, hey, there's a new special Blu-ray of the Avengers coming out with new bonus features, and one of them features you in like a 5 to 10 second clip on it, John, would I be excited about it? That'd be cool. It's like, oh yeah, neat. That's cool. But put it on a Star Wars Blu-ray, and I'm just completely geeked out now for the rest of my life. I mean, I can pretty much announce my retirement now. I'm done. I have nothing left to do in this business. I'm on a Star Wars Blu-ray. That's it. I mean, everybody else, any other mature human being, is like, so. But me, it's like, I'm like freaking out a little bit here. So I can pretty much retire. I think I can make this the last open mic and shut down the YouTube channel tomorrow and be completely happy. I'm not going to do that because I need to eat, but I probably could just because of how exciting this is for me. Again, I acknowledge wouldn't be exciting for anybody else. Nobody with an ounce of maturity would be as excited about this as I am. I fully admit that. And yet here I am. So anyway, but thank you for asking, Curtis. Curtis also writes, with Ready Player One and Stranger Things, it seems like the 80s is having a resurgence. I don't know, man. It kind of seems to me like every once in a while something cool, like an 80s thing comes out and comes along that focuses on the 80s. And I don't know that Stranger Things, which debuted like 2.5 years ago, and now Ready Player One, which is a book that's been around for a while, is suddenly now a resurgence of the 80s. Every once in a while we get pop culture stuff that's a big homage to the 80s. So I don't know if this is a new thing. And I also don't see two properties separated by years necessarily constitutes a resurgence per se. So I don't know that we're in an 80s resurgence, but there are definitely homages to the 80s have been around for a while, and they will continue to be around, I'm sure. Let's see. Min writes, if the Power Stone was so easily accessible, then why didn't Thanos or anyone else working with him retrieve it before Peter quilled it? Oh, because they didn't know where it was. That was the thing. Yes, it wasn't that hard to get because it was just there on that planet, just kind of sitting there waiting for somebody to come along and grab it. So yeah, it wasn't that hard to get. The issue was finding it. Where is it? Where was it hidden away? That became the quest that we find Peter Quill on at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy. He's looking for this damn thing. He's hunting it down. Now, how he found it, we don't know. We didn't see that movie. We didn't see that movie of Peter starting off his search, finding a lead, tracking it down, leading to another lead, leading to another lead, leading to a dead end, which led to another dead end. Then he picked up the trail again and blah, blah, blah. And then ultimately, just as he's about to find it, that movie ends and Guardians of the Galaxy begins with Peter finding it. That was the problem. See, Thanos didn't need somebody to go and get it. Thanos needed somebody to find it. So that was the thing. And that's what the issue was. Not the getting it, it was the finding it. Let's see. TF writes, can you grow a beard? I only ask because picturing you with a Mel Gibson beard looks cool in my head. Oh man, I would love a Mel Gibson beard. One of those, I'm so psychotic, I don't even know what to do with myself looking beards. Just do this. Like a Chinese Kung Fu movie master. I'd love to do that. I would do that all day. I would just sit there stroking my beard all day. Anyway, no. I have the maturity of a 5-year-old child, but I also have the facial hair of a 5-year-old child. People would laugh at me, like when No Shave November comes along. What I do is I get 3 weeks, and I look like a regular man after 4 or 5 days. Like me not shaving for 3 or 4 weeks looks like a regular man not shaving 3 or 4 days because I have the facial hair of a baby boy's ass. That's what I have the facial hair of. It's embarrassing. There's nothing I can do about it. I will grow hair here a bit, and I'll get some here. But like right here, anything you need to really make a respectable beard, I just don't grow hair here. So even if I wanted to get that cool, Sons of Anarchy biker mustache that comes down like this, I couldn't do it because I cannot grow hair. It's embarrassing. It's completely humiliating. I just cannot grow facial hair like a regular man. It's rather embarrassing. So nope, can't grow a beard, even if I wanted to. Padrek? I never know how to pronounce that name. Conway writes, Gregg killed it in S.H.I.E.L.D. 100, so underrated. I don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I keep watching it because of Gregg. And Ming-Na Wen. I like her an awful lot too. I think he has just crushed it. He has given dimension and depth and character to this Agent Coulson character of his, who to me is a part of the MCU as Captain America or Iron Man. He really is, even though he's in the movie universe, he's dead, apparently. Nobody in the movie still even acknowledges that he's alive, which is fine, whatever. He's the reason, even though I don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I still watch it every week, and I watch it for him. Now, I have not watched episode 100 yet, so I don't know. I just expect that Gregg will be great in it because that's what Gregg does. He's great when he appears in things. So I'm looking forward to it, but I have not gotten around to see it yet. I will actually probably, as soon as this show's over, I'll probably go and watch this week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. All right. Next up, Manuel Fernandez writes, what would be more painful for you to do? Explain why 50 Shades is the greatest trilogy of all time, or explain why Jar Jar is the greatest character of all time. Oh, that's easy. 50 Shades. 50 Shades. Because I just don't care. I don't care about 50 Shades at all. So for me to explain why it's the greatest trilogy in the world, it would be like a thorn in my side to do it. Yeah, but the Jar Jar thing? Nope, I couldn't do it. I would want to gouge out my own tongue before I spoke one word of it. So yeah, the harder thing for me to do would be the 50 Shades one. Or the easier thing for me to do would be the 50 Shades one, because I simply don't care. Star Wars, I care. Therefore, the Jar Jar thing, I would have to burn out my own tongue before I even, got the first couple of syllables out of my mouth. Let's see. Next one comes to us from John Key. And John Key writes, do you think Boston Dynamics robots could or will be used in movies in the future instead of unrealistically agile and weightless CGI robots? Is that something you'd like to see experimented with? Well, I don't really know anything about Boston Dynamics robots. I've seen a headline or two, so I don't really know anything about them. All I know is that they're doing amazing things with CGI. When they can make gorillas in Planet of the Apes look like that, then they can do robots no problem. Robots are a lot easier to do than gorillas, for sure. So right now, my initial kind of feeling on that would be definitely CGI. Far more flexible, far more things you can do with them is CGI, period. So I would definitely lean towards CGI. But then again, I haven't seen the Boston Dynamic robots you're talking about. Like I said, I've seen some headlines. I've never cared. I don't look at them. I don't know much about them. But for me, CGI all the way, far more realistic. Far more realistic and flexible with what you can do. Again, if you can do what they did in Planet of the Apes with gorillas, robots are no problem. Just the easiest thing in the world, robots. Let's see. Oop, I lost my spot here. Sorry. Here we go. Adam K writes, Paramount sold Annihilation's rights to Netflix outside of the US, Canada, and China. Was this the right move, or did they leave money on the table? Nah, it was probably the right move. The movie's already made more than I think they were expecting it to. Last I checked, it made like $25 million. Annihilation box off. Let me just double check the numbers here. The last I checked, Annihilation had made 25. It's up to $26 million now. Okay, it's up to $26 million. It opened like over 2 weeks ago and it's made $26 million bucks. So basically it's going to end up making $29 million total. That means it probably wouldn't have made that much more or even close to that much outside of the US. It's not a broad appeal kind of film. So I have a feeling it was probably the right move. I think they looked at and knew, this movie isn't going to make a lot of money. Not a lot of people are going to come out and see this. So maybe we make a streaming deal. and they sold it to Netflix. It was probably the right thing. Looking at the box office totals, I don't really feel like they probably left any money on the table. It was probably the right move for them to do at that point. All right. Next one comes to us from Dakota Barber, who writes, also, the movie Disturbia with David Morse is great. Yeah, Disturbia is a good movie, man, and David Morse is awesome. You guys have heard me say, I think he's the most underrated character actor, maybe in the history of Hollywood. I love David Morse. Just whenever he acts in something, I just buy into it completely. I think he's wonderful. I just dig that dude a lot. And you're right, Disturbia is a really fun little film. All right, next up, Matthew Koss writes, do you think all the Knights of Ren are evil? Or did they just join Kylo Ren because the only other choice was getting killed? No, I have a feeling they're evil. Or at least dark side, depending on your terminology. I don't think Kylo was the only person being swayed. I think there are others who were being swayed and manipulated by Snoke. He was probably going after like the whole group of them. So my feeling is that, yes, they are Knights of Ren. Kylo's the master of the Knights of Ren, but I think they're there for a dark purpose. I don't think they're there just because they're afraid that they'll get killed if they're not there. That, I think something Snoke would smell out and have Kylo just kill them. If they're only here because you're afraid we're going to kill you, then you're useless to us. We need somebody who's on board with the cause, for the Knights of Ren. So I have a feeling the Knights of Ren are indeed dark, and they're the Knights of Ren. And I'm sure we'll find out more about them. I'm certainly hoping we get to see them in episode 9. I think they will. I think they will play a key role in episode 9. I think they will play the role of what the Red Guards were to the Emperor and were to Snoke. I think the Knights of Ren will be to Kylo Ren now that he's the supreme leader, heading into episode 9. So yeah, I think we're going to see them, and I think they are evil. All right, let's move on now. Sujith writes, writers say Superman isn't a difficult character to get right, as he has very less flaws. Does that highlight how great Man of Steel is? Love how Zod forces him to making tough decisions with big consequences, true test of character. Well, I mean, the thing is, how do you write a character with so few flaws and make him interesting? And one of the things that I personally loved about Man of Steel was that Clark didn't intrinsically just know all the answers. He didn't know all the answers. And I love that about this movie. And he has a very solid moral compass, for sure he does. But even with a moral compass, what is clearly right is not so clear. And he's trying to do the right thing, but he doesn't necessarily know all the time what the right thing to do is. And he's got two different father figures that are kind of telling him, you are going to be the light of humanity. You're going to be a good man, but you can't show who you are because the world is going to fear you and not know what to do with you. And so you have this dichotomy of direction from two different father figures pulling him. And Clark is simply God doesn't know what to do. And what I think a lot of people lose sight of in Man of Steel is that when the climax of the film starts to happen and Clark is like fighting General Zod, who is a lifelong military guy, a lifelong warrior, people are forgetting Superman's been Superman for all of about 24 hours. All of about a day or two, he's been Superman. And I just love what they did with him. And, it infuriates me when people say, Superman wouldn't have snapped Zod's neck. Yeah, he would have. Yes, he would have. When faced with a situation that he's facing a far more experienced adversary who's about to kill a family. And not just that, this adversary just told you point blank, I am never going to stop until I wipe out all of humanity. The moment I get out of here, I'm going to start killing humans. I'm just going to start blasting humans. Throw a couple of punches with you, turn around, kill some humans. Throw a few more punches with you, turn around, kill some more humans. I'm going to wipe out the entire human race. And there Superman is in this situation with Zod, and I thought Zack Snyder did a pretty damn good job of making it real clear. He had no choice. Kal-El had a simple choice to make. Either let Zod kill this family, or I got to break his neck. It's the only way I can stop him. That was it. That was the choice that the film presented Superman. And what Superman would have done was not let that family die. That's not what Superman would have done. Superman would have made the hard choice. He would have snapped Zod's neck, and then he would have screamed out with pain. Even though he just killed a bad guy, it hurt him. It was conflicted. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to kill Zod, but he was left with no choice. And it infuriates me. Because this isn't a subjective nature of movies thing. This was a clear thing that the movie laid out. Clark had two choices. This is what the movie told us. Either let that family die or snap Zod's neck. You will never win an argument convincing me that Superman would have let that family die. You'll never win that argument. Ever. And he responded properly. He killed a guy and it tore him apart at the time. So I don't mind that people don't like Man of Steel. If there are people who don't like Man of Steel, I don't mind that. That's the subjective nature of film. It's totally cool. No problem. It didn't work for you. That's fine. Just don't do this BS. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Don't do this BS that Superman would not have saved that family. Don't try to play that game, because that's simply not true. Superman would have saved that family at all costs. If it meant having to snap Zod's neck, then he would have snapped Zod's neck. That's just the way it is. And that really does frustrate when people try to make that argument. Because look, this isn't a subjective versus objective thing. The movie made it clear. He had two choices. Let the family die or break Zod's neck. You're telling me Superman would have let the family die? Is that what you're saying? You're saying that? Really? You really don't know Superman at all if you think that's the choice he would have made when only presented with those two options. If you don't like the movie, that's cool. Hey, that's cool. I encourage you. If you didn't work for you, don't pretend like it did. If it didn't work for you, no problem with that. Film is subjective. But don't act like Superman had another choice, because the movie made it clear that he didn't. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Okay, next one. Jacob Vanco writes, what millimeter lens, ISO, frames per second, shutter speed, and aperture are you shooting at? I'm shooting at a 2.8 aperture. My ISO, I think, is set to 800 right now. 29.97 frames per second is what I'm shooting at. Not quite sure what my what millimeter is my lens. It is I'm not quite sure what I'm shooting at. It's a 17 to 50 millimeter lens by Sigma. It's a Sigma zoom lens. 17 to 50 millimeter lens is the lens I use. I'm using a Canon 7D camera to shoot, and that's just my setting. What's more important is the lights I'm using. Remember, you figure out ISO and all that kind of stuff. That information is no good to you unless you also know how much lighting I have, how much intensity the lighting is, because you want to measure your ISO compared to those environments as well. So and I'm no camera expert. I'm not a camera expert at all. I'm just telling you what I can tell you off the top of my head. All right. Next one comes to us from Sujith, who writes, hey, John, do you get to choose 2D over 3D when you go for pre-release screenings? That is happening more and more. It used to be when the studios were trying to push 3D, and we would go to press screenings, and they would just show it in 3D. It's like, damn it, because I don't like 3D screenings. Then they started to clue in that, a lot of people don't really care about 3D. So then what they started doing is I would go to these screenings, and they would have, we're going to show it on 2 screens, guys, when we'd get to the theater. You have your choice. You can go to this theater with 2D, or you can go to this theater with 3D. And every single time that 2D theater would fill up way sooner than that 3D theater would. And lately, the last year or so, I can't remember the last screening I went to that even had a 3D option. I think they've clued in that we don't want to see, like the press particularly don't care about 3D. We don't want to see it in 3D. We'd rather just watch it in 2D. And I believe that's most of the movie-going audience as well. That's my opinion at any rate. So it used to be that they give you a choice, but I'm finding more times than not now it's just 2D. They'll just show the movie in 2D because I think they figured out that's all the audience, or I should say the film journalists really care about. All right, let's move on here. Tom writes, thoughts on Troy by Wolfgang Peterson. If you're talking about the one, let me just double check here. If you're talking about the one with Orlando Bloom, let me just make sure it's the one from 2004. And that is the one by Wolfgang Peterson. Not so good. Not great. It's funny because Eric Bana is in that. I thought Eric Bana was really great. Brendan Gleeson's in it, and I love Brendan Gleeson. Not a big Orlando Bloom fan. I've never thought he could actually act much, to be honest with you. And outside, he played a great Legolas, but outside of Lord of the Rings, I've never really liked him in anything that he's done. He didn't do bad in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but I kind of tired of him in that role afterwards as well. And then I saw him in Elizabethtown. He was terrible in that. And I don't know. I wouldn't call myself a big Orlando Bloom fan, but he was certainly great in Lord of the Rings for sure. Anyway, didn't like him so much in Troy. Eric Bana was great. Diane Kruger is always gorgeous. Brad Pitt was quite good in it. I like Brian Cox in anything he's in, but yeah, I'm not that. I didn't hate Troy. I know there's a bunch of people that hated Troy. I didn't hate Troy, but by any stretch of imagination, I just didn't think it was all that good. I think I might have watched it twice, and I can never bring myself to watch it again. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next one comes to us from Michael the Bicycle, who writes, "Hey, John, first time sending in a super chat." Well, thanks so much, Michael. I appreciate that. Just wanted to say you're an awesome person and a huge role model inspiration for me. Great job, man. Oh, thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that. Look, being in the online space means you take a lot of criticism, and I get hate mail like anybody in my position does. And you'll learn to grow thick skin and brush it off, but still, it's really nice when you get messages like that one, and it really makes me feel good. And I really appreciate that you do that. Thank you so much, Michael. It's really appreciated. All right. The next one comes to us from The Impossible Something. I swear to God, I love the names you guys come up with. The Impossible Something writes, "Forgive me if you've already given your opinions, but what did you think of Phantom Thread? I controversially thought it was a near masterpiece." Well, I mean, how controversial can that be? It was nominated for Best Picture. I mean, so you're not all that. I liked The Phantom Thread very, very much. I don't know that I would have nominated it for Best Picture. I certainly would have bumped it out for Molly's Game or Logan to get a nomination. But I liked it very much. Daniel Day-Lewis doing what Daniel Day-Lewis does. Probably the final performance of his career. It was definitely a more subdued film, but I just thought the tone of it was crafted so beautifully. It's a wonderful movie. Again, I'm not so sure it's in my top 10 of the year, but it's wonderful. And I really enjoyed it. And hopefully it wasn't Daniel Day-Lewis's final performance, but they're saying that it is. So we'll just have to wait and see if that actually holds. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Adamus. And Adamus writes, "Dumb idea, I know, but I would love to see a sci-fi spin on St. George and the Dragon, where the dragon is a kaiju and St. George is a giant piloted robot." Now, crazy? Yes. But in a world where Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is a movie, and a world where Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies are a movie, and in a world with what was the name of that? Grimm. I used to watch that TV show Grimm that just ended last year, a long time, where it turns out Adolf Hitler was actually not just a proverbial monster. He was literally a monster. He was Wesen. He was a monster. In a world where we create stories like that, where we relook at historical events and kind of change the spin on that, that's not so crazy. That's not that crazy of an idea at all when you really sit back and think about it. I could see some studio now taking a crack at something like that. Why not? Let's see. Benny95 writes, "Hi, John. Have you seen Ready Player One? Early reviews seem positive, but hearing a clash between gamers and critics. Thoughts? Keep up the great work." Well, first of all, I have not seen it. It only premiered at South by Southwest. Why would I give a fuck what gamers say about it? This isn't a video game. This is a movie. I don't give a fuck what gamers say about it. I care what movie people have to say about it. Not to mention, Ready Player One is not a game. Why gamers have an opinion about it, I have no idea. Look, if this was Tomb Raider, I would definitely, a video game community would definitely have my ear because it's based on a video game property. Why I would care what gamers think about Ready Player One, I have no clue, so I wouldn't care. I haven't heard about any such thing, but I wouldn't care about what the gamers have to say about it. Again, if Ready Player One was a video game that this was based on, they would totally have my ear. If we were talking about Tomb Raider, they would totally have my ear. Much like, NBA basketball players, if it was a basketball movie, they would totally have my ear. If it was a sporting movie, they would totally have my ear because they would have a point of view on it that would be deeper than the one I bring to it, understanding the source material. But this isn't a video game movie. It's a novel that's based on. So I really wouldn't care. Let's see. Back over to Michael the Bicycle, who writes, ever been to a drive-in movie theater? What movies have you seen? I go to one a lot and love it despite people leaving headlights on. I've never had a problem with people leaving headlights. Yeah, I used to go to a drive-in all the time back when I still lived in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I don't know if it's still there. It used to be called the Starlight Drive-In. I used to go to it quite a bit. I told the story just the other week about how one time I was there and this couple having sex, standing up in the back of a pickup truck at the drive-in theater. So yeah, I used to love it. Oh, jeez, I've seen tons of movies there. So, I mean, I think the first one I saw in a drive-in theater was my family, my mom taking us to go see E.T. My mom and dad taking us to go see E.T. I think I remember that one. But I've seen lots of things. I miss the drive-in. I miss the drive-in. I really like the drive-in. Let's see. Manuel Fernandez writes, your reaction to yourself in the documentary are exactly how I felt when I put up my first film review, Moana, for my school newspaper. Congrats. There is something really cool about that. I remember the first movie review I did and I put up online. And it was back when I did this little website called movie-reviews.org. I don't know who owns that domain name anymore. I don't. But I registered a domain name way back. This is even before the movie blog. And it was movie-reviews.org was the name of my website. And I remember the first review I put up, and then going on a web browser and just opening up the web page like a normal person would and seeing it and just being so proud and happy. And I remember my very first YouTube video, uploading the video and watching it and feeling pretty good. Seeing my the first newspaper that did an article on me pop up in the newspaper. That was super proud. Seeing your first movie review in your school paper, that's awesome. It's just little things like that are really cool, and they motivate us and they feel good, and it's like kind of a little bit of affirmation. Maybe it shouldn't be affirmation, but it is, and it makes us feel good. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Manuel. All right, next one comes to us from Viper91, who writes, when will you be seeing Ready Player One? I am seeing Ready Player One. Hold on a second, I'll tell you in a second here. Let me pull up my my calendar. Oh crap, I didn't put it down in my calendar. I think I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it next week. But I got my calendar open. I didn't put it in my calendar. So I'll have to go back to my email and find out which day I'm seeing it. So but it's next week. I'm seeing it next week is when I'm finally going to get around to seeing Ready Player One. Let's see. Denmar95 writes, any info on Big Hero 2? Big Hero 6 2, I mean. Love the first one. No info. And I've got to wonder, to be honest with you, if we can expect to see, why am I forgetting his name? The guy in Deadpool. Now I got to pull up Big Hero 6 just to get the guy's name. He's the comedian. He was really funny in Big Hero 6. Why am I forgetting his name? And it is TJ Miller. With all the controversy going on around TJ Miller and, you know, the claims of sexual assault and physical assault when he was in college and all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't enough to get him kicked out of Deadpool. I don't know that Disney will want to use him in a kid-friendly film like a Big Hero 6 2. If they ever get around to doing Big Hero 6 2, I honestly don't know what the holdup is. The movie's years old now. This movie came out, we're getting on 4 years. This year will mark 4 years. It's been 3.5 years since that movie came out, and I've heard nothing about it. For all I know, it might be in production as we speak, but I haven't heard anything about it. And I feel like every day that passes lessens the chance that we'll actually get a sequel, which is beyond me why that would be the case. The movie was successful. It was really well received. It's a great little movie. I just have a feeling if they do it, we probably won't see TJ Miller in it. So, take that for what it's worth. All right. Next one comes to us from Digoto1, who writes, Infinity War behind the scenes is dropping tonight. Trailer is rumored to drop tomorrow morning. I hope it's true. Well, it might, but take it with a grain of salt that the trailer is dropping tomorrow rumor has been a rumor for the past 8 or 9 days. I've seen rumors and heard whispers about the Infinity War trailer's dropping tomorrow or the next day. I've been hearing that for over a week. How much behind the scenes Entertainment Tonight is actually going to show? I'm guessing not a lot. I'm guessing they've got maybe 20 seconds of footage, and they're pumping it up. Tomorrow, watch Entertainment Tonight for this. And I got a feeling it's not going to be much. Maybe it will be a lot. I don't know. Look, again, the movie comes out in 7 weeks. They've got to have another trailer soon. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's next week. I said a couple of days ago, I think by the end of next week, so not by this Friday, but by next Friday, we're going to have a new trailer. And I think we're going to get even another trailer before the movie even opens. I don't know that. No one's told me that. Just to be clear, I'm just speculating. But I think we're going to get another trailer before next Friday. It could be tomorrow, could be the day after, whatever. But then I think we're going to get another trailer after that. Maybe like 2 weeks before the film opens, we'll get one more trailer. And that's just what I'm guessing at this point. The reason I'm not excited about the Entertainment Tonight thing is because I just don't believe they're going to show us anything all that interesting, to be honest. But who knows? Maybe it'll be mind-blowing. Maybe it'll be fantastic stuff they show. We'll have to wait and find out. All right. This next one comes to us from Styler Manu. And Styler Manu writes, unfortunately, there have been racist comments posted by Chinese moviegoers about the cast of Black Panther. Have you heard about this? I'm disappointed but not surprised. It's such a homogenous society. Well, I mean, yeah, but here's the thing, Styler. I mean, there's going to be, look, in North America, there are racist comments made about it. In Europe, there are racist comments being made about it. In China, there's going to be racist comments made about it. You're going to get a segment of any population that is stupid. Like every population, every nation, every country, every society, every culture has a segment of their society, culture, or population that are idiots. It's a part of it. We can't act surprised that, oh, it opened in China. Wait, there's some racist people in China? Of course there are racist people in China. You know why? Because they're people. They're people. And people have a certain fragment, a certain percentage of our population that are idiots and morons. China is no exception to that. Clearly, America is no exception to that. Canada is no exception to that. England, Spain, Russia, wherever you want to go, certain percentage of people are going to be dumb. So we can't act surprised or be taken aback. It's like, wait, some Chinese people wrote something racist? What? Of course they do, because they've got people who live there. Not Boston Dynamic robots. Maybe if China was populated by Boston Dynamic robots, there would be no racists there. But there are human beings there. That means some of them are going to be stupid. It's just the law of averages. So I wouldn't get worked up about it. I certainly wouldn't worry about it whatsoever. I really wouldn't. And now, look, if it was like their top 5 film critics are all saying like racist garbage, okay, that's a bigger issue. But really, I wouldn't get too worked up about, some comments by random people or posting racist comments. What? Really? Of course they are. We have idiots in our population as a species. We do. So anyway, oh good. I just got my screening invite for Pacific Rim Uprising. So good. Now I know when I'm seeing that one. I can tell you when I'm seeing Pacific Rim. I don't know when I'm seeing Ready Player One off the top of my head, but I know when I'm seeing Pacific Rim. Okay. Padrick Conway writes, I hope Loki kicks the Black Order's ass. Oh, me too, man. That topic came up earlier today in the John Campea show about, do I think Loki is going to die in Infinity War? And I kind of talked a little bit earlier about how I didn't used to think it will, but now I do think he will. I think he'll die. But oh man, how awesome would it be if not just Thanos came off that ship onto their ship, but Thanos and like the entire Black Order, and Loki just schools them. Like Loki just kicks their candy asses all over the place until Thanos sees enough and decides he's going to step in and he crushes Loki and kills him. But man, if you're going to send out Loki, I pray to God they sent him out in a blaze of glory. If Loki dies in those first 10 minutes of Infinity War, like I think he might, but if he does, I want to see him going out in a blaze of glory. I want to see him pulling out the full force. It's like, you know what, fool? I may come across funny. I may say some pithy one-liners, but I'm the frickin' son of Odin. I was born as the son of the king of the frost giants. All right? I am Loki of Asgard, and I'm going to kick your ass. I want to see that so bad. I am a god, and to see him whip the Black Order's ass, I would love that. And then Thanos goes, okay, I've seen enough, and steps in and squashes him. Fair enough. But yeah, that's what I would love to see, man. I would love to see that so much. Starman. Hey, John, have you seen the weird IW trailer? Nope, I haven't seen it yet. Some people sent me the link, but I have not had a chance to watch it yet, so I haven't seen that yet, Starman. Paul writes, Qui-Gon was a Force ghost in the Clone Wars show. Therefore, shouldn't his body have disappeared in The Phantom Menace, like Obi-Wan in 4, Yoda in 6, and Luke in 8? Hey, look, they've never said in any Star Wars true canon that part of becoming a Force ghost is your body disappearing. I've never heard them say that. I've never heard them say that an integral part of becoming a Force ghost means your body has to literally disappear. I've never seen or heard that. So it doesn't matter. I mean, look, Yoda said, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. Like, the body doesn't matter. As Yoda says, luminous beings are we. So the body doesn't matter whether the body just dies and burns in a Jedi funeral pyre, or whether the body disappears. I don't know, but I've never seen anything in Star Wars, which the movies is the only thing I count as real canon anymore, that specifically says that becoming a Force ghost requires you just disappearing when you die. And by the way, I'm still not convinced Luke is dead, but just throwing that out there. So I hope that gives you where I'm coming from. At least I hope that explains where I'm coming from on that, Paul. Thanks a lot for asking. All right. Styler Manu writes, I love the What We're Watching segment. Thanks for selecting my Black Panther video clip. I think I'm going to do a review of Jessica Jones Season 2 next. Well, thanks a lot, Styler. Yeah, I really had fun with that, and I've loved the response we've got. For those of you who didn't see it, earlier on today on the John Campea Show, started a new segment called What We're Watching using and I'll use this as a chance to plug them right now, the Stardust app. I announced earlier that Stardust, and you guys know I've turned down several sponsorships from people because they have nothing to do with what we do. But Stardust was one I am totally thrilled to have on as a sponsor of the John Campea Show, at least for the next month or so. It's a great app, great for the film fan community. You use the app. It's simple. You just download, you record yourself doing a 3 to 30 second long reaction or review of a TV show, trailer, or a movie. And it's just great. And you share it with everybody else and you watch everybody else's reactions. But what we've done with the John Campea Show is if you tag me on your video, like you tag me on the screen at John Campea, then I may select your video to use in a new segment we're doing called What We're Watching. So it's a lot of fun. Do me a favor, guys. If you haven't used the Stardust app, look in the description. Don't go to your Play Store. Don't go to your iOS store. Look in the description of this video. You'll see a link. Click that link. That actually helps me out if you do that. Click that link. Go download this Stardust app. And even if you don't submit it for the John Campea Show, I think you're going to have a lot of fun using it. My wife just started using it last night. She's having a good time. So I'm glad you like it, Styler. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's move on now. Next one comes to us from Sujith, who writes, crazy to be sitting here to have watched a movie before my favorite movie pundits, you, Dan, and Roth, have reviewed it. Not bragging. Looking forward to seeing if we agree on Tomb Raider. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't see Tomb Raider till tomorrow. But it has opened in several other markets around the world. A little bit of an unusual release strategy, but nothing wrong with it whatsoever. So I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, Sudhis. I hope you liked it. Anthony R. writes, next Star Wars trilogy needs to have new types of planets, a free galaxy, no more Empire versus Rebels, and a new Jedi Order taking on new threats other than Sith. I don't know. I'd love to see a resurgence of the Sith. We've never had in the movies Jedi versus Sith. We've never had it. We've had a Sith, like a dude and his one apprentice. I would love to see a Sith Empire. Now, whether that means we have to go back to Old Republic and do a trilogy there, or we're moving forward in the reestablishment of the Sith Order and the reestablishment of the Sith Empire, whatever they're calling the planet now, Korriban, I think is what they're calling it now. And like a reestablishment of the Sith Empire, and truly have a reestablished Jedi Order and a reestablished Sith Empire. We have never had that in the movies, and I would love to see that personally. Yes, no more Empire versus an oppressed galaxy, but maybe, a Sith Empire versus a Free Republic fighting. That would be cool. But whatever they decide to do is cool with me. But I, for one, would love to see a true, thriving, living Sith Empire. I would love to see it versus a alive, thriving, reestablished Jedi Order. That would be cool. I would love to see that personally. All right. Benny95 writes, John, Which movie have you seen the most, apart from the Star Wars trilogy? My family and I have seen Lord of the Rings trilogy 72 times each. Continue the great work. I have a hard time imagining that it's not Lord of the Rings. I mean, in theater, I probably saw Thor, the first Thor movie, more times than I saw Lord of the Rings in theater. I think I maxed out Lord of the Rings in theater like maybe 6 times. But I've seen it so many times, either on streaming or Blu-ray or whatever, since then that I've lost count. I just don't know how many times I've seen it. So other than Star Wars, then again, I went through a period of a couple of years where every night I would either watch Galaxy Quest or Zoolander when going to bed. So there's that too, but probably Lord of the Rings. I'm going to guess Lord of the Rings. I simply have no count for how many times I've watched it though. So yeah, take that for as it is. Hey, listen guys, I've only got a couple of minutes left here. If any of you guys have sent in questions that I do not get around to, do not worry. Tomorrow, sometime after the John Campea show, I will do a supplemental video and I will copy all the questions you guys sent in that I do not get around to. And I'll take those plus whatever questions I don't get around to in the John Campea show. And I'll do a supplemental video to it tomorrow afternoon. So don't worry. If you send in a question and this show ends without it getting answered, it'll get answered tomorrow. Okay. So don't worry about that. All right. Let's move on now. Jason Robinson, who writes, would you rather a Alejandro Inarritu directed Batman trilogy or a Peter Jackson directed Superman trilogy? For case of fit, Alejandro directing a Batman trilogy. If you named another movie with Peter Jackson directing, maybe that, but I just see that fit and that style with Alejandro with the Batman trilogy just being a better fit. And I'm not necessarily saying I like him better as a director than Peter Jackson or vice versa. I'm not necessarily saying that, but the idea of him doing a Batman trilogy sounds pretty damn sweet to me. So sign me up. That's the one I would take. Anthony R. writes, other than Infinity War being convoluted, I'm also worried that Marvel takes a cheap shot and kills Loki and all the heroes only to have the Time Stone reverse it. Yeah. Again, with the fake deaths, I do worry about that too. Like if you kill Loki and you kill him in the manner that I described, going out in a blaze of glory. I am Loki, son of Odin. Oh God, I would love that. Then keep him dead. Marvel is so notorious for their fake deaths. It's like, oh no, Loki died. And oh no, Hawkeye died. Okay, just get the eye. Just get the eye and the time stone, and we'll just back up time and go save him, no problem. Fake death. They are so bad with fake deaths. If somebody dies, just want them to die. Now, if the world gets destroyed, like, I don't know, Thanos throwing a moon at somebody. If they destroy the world, then yeah, you probably got to do something with that. But, I mean, if you set up an individual hero's death, leave them dead. If you're going to kill somebody, kill them. Look, I'm unpopular in the sense that I don't think Infinity War needs to kill anybody. So many people are like, and that's fine if you feel this way, but so many people are like, oh, you got to kill some major characters to have a sense of stake. No, you don't. Lots of movies have great sense of stakes without key characters dying. You don't need to have characters dying. If you do, that's fine. But if you kill them, kill them. Don't pull this fake death thing. Oh, I'm dead. No, wait, I'm alive. Ooh. Like, just don't do that anymore. If you're going to kill them, then kill them. So I'm a little bit worried about that too myself, Anthony. You and me both. All right. Sujith writes, I would love baby boy facial. I need regular trims. Yeah, there are some of my friends who have like massive, like their 3 o'clock shadow looks like they haven't shaved in 2 or 3 days. Like I got some friends who just like, you could, if you stare at their face, you could see the hair growing. Who say they wish they could change places with me, but man, seriously, I have baby ass face. It's crazy. Let's see. Where did it go? I was about to ask a question from Patrick. Where did Patrick go? So many more questions have come in. Okay. Patrick writes, I just watched Dunkirk again. Just thought that it looked kind of spaghetti Western. What do you think of Nolan directing a kind of Western movie? Sure. I mean, look, same way I would answer that anytime. Christopher Nolan, a great director doing X movie? Sure. I think Christopher Nolan can do anything. The one thing I don't know if he can do is comedy. That's the only thing I don't know if he can do or not. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying I don't know. It would be interesting to see Christopher Nolan take a crack at comedy. I have no doubt he could pull off a Western. I have no doubt he could pull off a period piece. I have no doubt he's a good director. He's a good storyteller. He can tell just about any kind of story. But can he do comedy? I don't know about that. I would be very, very curious to see him do comedy. Red 8 writes, does Netflix share the rights to the Netflix version of Daredevil, etc. with Marvel? If theoretically Marvel wanted to use this version of Daredevil in a movie, could Netflix say no? No idea. I doubt that they can say no. I doubt that. I also highly doubt they would want to say no. It's like, oh, wait, you want to promote our TV shows by putting our TV characters in the biggest movies in the world? Yes, please. There's no reality in which Netflix would say. I don't even know if they could say no, but I feel pretty confident there's no way that they even would say no, even if they could say no. That would be idiotic. It's like, hey, we got this Luke Cage series coming out, the season 2. Oh, you want to put him in Infinity War? Yes, please. Marketing gold. You just struck gold for marketing for your little TV show. So I don't honestly know the answer to what can Netflix say no to and whatnot. I don't know the details of that, but I do know that there's no way they'd be idiotic enough to ever say no to Marvel. If Marvel said, hey, we want to put, they'd probably say no. We want to put Luke Cage in Infinity War and kill him. Well, no, we're doing a TV series here. But to promote the character, they would never say no to that. They would never say no to that. No way. Riley Johnson writes, hey, John, how would you fix Arrow? Missed the quality of season 1 and season 2. That's really a real long question, Riley. Basically this. Look at what made season 1 and season 2 so special. First of all, there was a great MacGuffin, which was his book. The book of names left behind by his dad. And he was going around and the whole "you have failed this city" thing. And I feel like they cut that way before its time. They got rid of the book and got rid of all that kind of stuff way before its time. And they undermined that storyline way before its time. The other thing I would do is not make everybody who Oliver remotely likes into a superhero. Hey, Bobby, the pizza delivery guy, you know what? You seem like a good dude. Come to my training center for the next 3 nights. I'll give you some kung fu lessons and you'll be a superhero. It's the thing that if any one thing turned me off of Arrow, it was that notion. And it started with Laurel, but really Laurel, Captain Buckles, was just a symptom of the problem. I took it all out on the Laurel character for good reason, but really Laurel was just a symptom of the character. Like I never got the whole thing. Wait a minute, let me get this straight. So Laurel, who has never done an ounce of combat training in her life, has been going to a local boxing gym and taking some night lessons, and now she dresses up in black leather and she's a superhero taking on mobsters with guns with her metal stick. Is that what I am supposed to believe? That's different from Oliver spending 5 years on Leon Yu and is supposed to be trained by all these different people and was put through the fire and put through the gauntlet. He comes back now ready to take back his city. That's cool. You took some boxing lessons. And okay, that's great. What's the name of the one guy? War Dog or Crazy Dog or Hound Dog or whatever. The dude with the hockey mask whose big superpower is he likes to shoot guns. It's like, oh, you know what? You seem like a good guy. Yeah, put on the hockey mask and bring your guns and let's go fight crime. What? That is what ruined Arrow for me. It took the suspension of disbelief and made it just too much to accept and just made it too ridiculous to accept. So the first thing I would do with Arrow is kill off or have them all leave the country. All these like Mr. Terrific, whoever, like John Diggle is a war vet who's been a warrior his whole life. That's different. You got Felicity. She doesn't go into the field and fight. She fights behind a computer. That's different. So the first thing I would do to fix Arrow is get rid of everybody on the show who does not have even by DC standards, by comic book standards, doesn't have a rational backstory as to why they are a deadly combatant and a warrior that can fight in the field. If you don't have that, get them out. Get back to Oliver. Get him back on a mission. I don't mind the Felicity stuff. I don't mind The fact that he's got a son, I think that's actually kind of interesting. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but I would start by getting rid of the dead weight. And some of these characters are actually really good characters. Mr. Terrific is a really cool character. Like the dude, I'm forgetting the character's real name. But like as a character working with Felicity, he's a great character. He's well-rounded. He's got depth to him. He has his own little personal backstory. And he's got great chemistry with Felicity when they're doing the thing. But as Mr. Terrific, as the superhero, dead weight. Dead weight. I would just get rid of all of these people who have no business being a superhero. It drives me crazy. So yes, that's my feelings on that. All right. I got time for like 2 more questions. Then we're going to call it a day here, guys. This next one comes to us from Trevor Johnson, who writes, John, dumb question. No question's a dumb question. But I've always been curious, how long would you say on average do actors have to get in superhero shape for roles? I'm sure it varies. Yeah, I mean, you just answered the question. I'm sure it varies. Like, I'm sure it took longer for Chris Pratt, who used to be kind of roly-poly. Like, he used to be in John Campea shape. I mean, he used to be kind of roly-poly. And then he turned into Star-Lord. I'm sure it takes longer for him than, say, Chris Evans, who's always been in shape. He just buffed up. But yeah, like you said, man, I'm sure per person it varies on different levels. I'm really sure it varies. Otherwise, it's just not it's not a bad question. It's a very good question. I just don't know how to answer that because, like you said, it would from person to person, it would be different answers, I'm sure. All right, next up, Richard K. Ratti writes, hey, Mr. Campea, do you think the next Marvel will ever add Blade in their Netflix universe? Because the universe is rated R. I think Blade. Thoughts, please? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on if they think there's really a place for him. They tried relaunching Blade as a separate television series, Sticky Fingers. It only lasted 1 season. I actually didn't mind it. I actually thought it was okay. But it got canceled after 1 season. So I just don't know if they think there's a market for it. But I mean, it's possible you could do it theoretically if they think there could be an audience. I'm not sure that there's an audience. Let's see. Richard also writes, I think Blade would fit in the R-rated universe. Well, yeah, sure. He could fit in an R-rated universe for sure. Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solo. Great screen name. Changed my name from Fox Mulder. Debated on this for Space Whale. Battlefront 2 is actually fun. It's a shame that EA are greedy. Will they keep the Star Wars license? I believe I heard, I could be wrong about this, but I believe I heard that Lucasfilm was taking the license away from EA. I could be wrong of that. I don't keep my ear to the ground on gaming news, but I thought I heard that EA was going to be losing the Star Wars license. I could be wrong about that. We'll have to wait and see. Daryl Best Wadley writes, hey, John, I appreciate all you do. Thank you so much, Daryl. I know you hate answering questions about fellow YouTubers, but have you ever watched any nostalgic Critic videos? Yeah, I will confess, not a lot, but I have watched a few. I remember I felt like a spiritual bond with him because once he did this video, it was really good. He did this one really good video once on the fact that he didn't love Mad Max Fury Road. Like, he liked it. He thought it was good, but he didn't love it. And he made this big video about how he takes so much shit from people because he didn't say it was the greatest thing in the world. And I immediately felt a spiritual connection with him over that because I was the same thing. I liked Mad Max Fury Road. I gave it a positive review. I liked it. I just didn't think it was like top 5 movie of the year. And oh my God, the shit I took from people for saying that. How dare you say it's not a top 5 film? It's like, come on, man, I'm on your side. I liked it. We're both pro Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, but you don't like it enough. And it was like all this hate mail I got because I didn't say that I thought Mad Max Fury Road was one of the greatest things ever. I liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I gave it a positive review and I took so much shit because I didn't like it enough. And anyway, Nostalgia Critic did a video on that, and it was really good. Very well done video. So I don't watch him regularly, I confess, but I've seen a number of his videos and he's quite good. He's really quite good. You should check him out if you have the opportunity to. Shreyas writes, what do you think about this criticism of Man of Steel? Superman in Man of Steel was a good guy who saved people in the beginning, and towards the end of the movie, he's the same good guy who saves people. Nothing changes. That's a ridiculous oversimplification. So much changed in his character. He went from not even knowing who he is, discovering he's an alien, and then by the end embracing who and what he is. The core of his moral character, that he's a good man, that didn't change. No, but a million other things changed around him. The circumstances in his life changed. Finding out that he's got an alien hologram dad. Finding out that there's other members of his race coming. There is so much struggle that he goes through and so much crisis points that he goes through that he emerges a very different person. Although the base core of who he is a good man who does what he does, who does what he can do to try to save people. That stays the same. But that's like saying, let's see, what's a good example of this? Anakin. It's like saying Anakin, well, I mean, it starts off where he's this dude with blue eyes and 2 hands with 5 fingers on each hand. And other than getting burned in a lava pit, he still ends up as a guy with blue eyes and 2 hands. Granted, they're robotic hands now, with 5 fingers on each hand. Granted, they're robotic fingers. But he's the same guy. Nothing changed. Tons has changed. If you want to pick out something that doesn't change, you can find some things that didn't change. But so much about the character changed. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. All right, final question I have time for today. And again, the rest will be answered tomorrow on a supplemental video, I promise. This one comes to us from Richard again, who writes, you say Daniel Day-Lewis is the world's greatest actor. My favorite performance of his is Last of the Mohicans. What are your thoughts on the movie and his performance in it? It was breathtaking. It was spectacular. He was fantastic in Last of the Mohicans. My personal favorite performance of his is There Will Be Blood. His performance in There Will Be Blood, absolutely, I think the best male performance of the last 10 years, could possibly be the greatest performance of all time. I'll put it up for nomination. For the greatest leading actor performance of all time, I would nominate Daniel Day-Lewis's performance in There Will Be Blood. You will be hard-pressed to find many that are better than it. Maybe you can come up with a couple that are better, but it's difficult to come up with performances that were better than Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. It might be the greatest single male performance of all time. So on that basis, I got to go with that as my favorite. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Listen, don't forget, leave some comments below. Click the thumbs up button. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. And make sure, guys, that you're following me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Don't forget, guys, go check out my Patreon page as well. It's the whole reason. My Patreon supporters are the blood of this entire channel. They are the reason this channel is even able to be on. Please go check out that page and see if you want to become a Patreon supporter too. And also, don't forget, guys, check out in the description below, the link to go and download the Star-Lord app. That's a different app. The Stardust app. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. It's super free. It's super easy. It's free, super easy to use. And you're going to be posting reviews and reactions to share with people in no time. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea. And until my next video, bye-bye.